Rutland voters will soon face two ballot items regarding a downtown tax district. To inform the community on the issues involved, Channel 15 presents two back-to-back forums. The first features a panel in favor of the tax district and will be immediately followed by a panel speaking in opposition.
I'm Mayor Jeff Wennberg, and tonight we have a special program dealing with a single issue, and that is the Downtown Special Benefits District and the important votes that are facing the city voters on the November 3rd general election regarding that district. We have a series of panelists, three panelists here from the Downtown District, the partnership, who will be taking questions from three members of the local media. First, the panelists. On my far right is Stuart Silloway. He's the president of the Rutland Partnership and the vice president of the Chittenden Bank. To his left is Chuck Wagenheim, the owner of the Great Outdoors Trading Company in downtown Rutland. And to his left is Bonnie Hawley, the owner of Hawley's Florist on Center Street. The media representatives to my far left are Michael Maynard, the city reporter for the Rutland Herald, Kris Pearson, the news director for radio station WSYB, and Megan Price, an editor and reporter with the Rutland Shopper. Before we turn it over to questions from the media, I'd like to frame the issue, if we could, by giving a little bit of a history and to posing the question, which is really the question before the voters in November. Back in 1988, the Board of Aldermen, the mayor, and a number of people concerned about the future of downtown Rutland concluded that downtown Rutland had been on a steady, slow decline for several decades, and that something dramatic needed to be done to turn it around. We decided to engage in a planning process that involved hundreds of people, not just from Rutland City, but from throughout the community. In October of 1989, that process produced this report, which many of you have probably seen. It's called Downtown Rutland on the Right Track. This report essentially is a blueprint for what we as a community needed to do to turn downtown around. And much of what is in here we have already accomplished. A great deal of what is in here has yet to be done, but is well on the way. This report and the suggestions and recommendations, not only of consultants, but more importantly of the people of the community, caused us to create, us collectively, the voters, the Board of Aldermen, and the administration, to create the Redevelopment Authority, the Rutland Redevelopment Authority, and to place in the Redevelopment Authority certain powers which were designed to make it possible for them to do things in downtown Rutland to make it strong and healthy for the indefinite future, things that had never been tried before in Vermont, but things that show great promise. The Redevelopment Authority, in turn, was to create a special benefits district, a tax district that would only apply to the downtown merchants and property taxpayers and not to the residential property taxpayers outside downtown. The purpose being to raise the money to support downtown development in downtown only and not ask the general property taxpayers to pay for those services and those benefits. And finally, the downtown program called for the creation of the Rutland Partnership, a nonprofit corporation which was not associated with the city but could serve as an advocacy group and a management group to help do the promotions and make the improvements in downtown Rutland that needed to happen, but without having the creation of a new city agency, but instead a nonprofit corporation owned and controlled by the downtown property owners themselves. We've done all of those things. But, as is always the case, when you try something new, sometimes people object to the change. Those objections took the form of a lawsuit. The lawsuit was resolved in the Supreme Court recently with a decision by the Supreme Court that the process that was followed to apply the tax in the Special Benefits District downtown was not the proper process that should have been followed. This created the need for the vote on November 3rd. The issue before the voters are twofold, but really there is only one issue, just two sides of it. Shall the voters of the City of Rutland approve Articles 3 and 4 on the November ballot and keep the Rutland Partnership and the Downtown Tax District going, and in so doing, keep the progress for downtown revitalization going without having to pay for it themselves? Or, on the contrary, voting against Articles 3 and 4, assume the responsibility, financial and otherwise, for the continuation of the downtown program? Should the taxpayers, general taxpayers of the city, pay for downtown improvements, or should the downtowners pay for downtown improvements? That's the question before us. And to help illuminate this and understand it better, I'll ask Mike Maynard from the Rutland Herald to ask the first question.
Thanks. My first question is to Bonnie and Chuck. Since the partnership was forced to close down in the middle of August, what's been the direct impact on your business, if there has been any so far?
The basic impact I don't think has showed up yet, and I've been real concerned because one of the things that the partnership is very active in is our Christmas promotions, and obviously that is something that is coming up. Also, the partnership has been responsible for seeing that the downtown is decorated as far as the Christmas lights, things that make it an attractive, festive area. And Christmas is obviously the biggest retail holiday we have, and it's very important to our well-being. So I think as a direct impact, that's going to be the first one to show up.
We also have nowhere to go with our ideas now, and we have no people to take our ideas and do something with them. And that's what I'm really concerned with. The partnership, I believed, had a lot of momentum, and we were really making progress. And all of a sudden now, if you have any ideas or you come up with some projects that you want to endeavor, you can't get them done. We don't have any vehicle now to get anything done.
Let me add a couple of things to that, Mike, also. We had at the partnership some supplementary maintenance going on, emptying of trash baskets, sweeping of streets and the like to supplement what was done by the Department of Public Works. Gone. That's stopped. And I can tell you, just looking at the waste baskets on the street out in front of my bank building, we miss it. I think some of the amenities that we have put in place, people talk about benches and the like, we had 10 more trees ordered for installation in October. We've had to cancel that. So I think the phrase either Bonnie or Chuck used that talked about momentum, it stopped us for the minute. When the voters, as I just honestly believe they will vote yes on these two propositions, when we get that message, we'll get back to work very quickly. Bonnie's correct. I think the shortest term, most important fact is our Christmas promotion period is really on hold and may not happen.
Was there a fall promotion planned, any type of, to coincide with the leaf season?
There's a Harvest Days promotion. You guys will know more about it than I, but the principal effort we were undertaking now is our regular advertising, our coupon program, our lighting program, a variety of other festivities that would lead up into Christmas.
Bonnie, I've known you for quite a while, so I know what you do. Chuck, I'm not sure which store you run. I noticed that you're both wearing Tax Me, Vote Yes buttons. That's a little unusual any place. I mean, I don't see people wearing something that says Tax Me any place in the country at this point in time. I'd like to know a little bit about your businesses, how long you've been in downtown, and some of the changes you've seen in the past couple of years with the Downtown Partnership.
Well, I'm the owner of the Great Outdoors Trading Company on Center Street, and I've been in business for 20 years. I have another store in northern Vermont, but I opened up this store in Rutland about 7 years ago. And just be brief, I have a commitment to downtown. I'm in a downtown location at my other store, and there's a sense of real community in downtown. There's a sense of fellowship between the other merchants that coincides the way that I want to do business. And so my feeling is that when you are downtown, it's more like a neighborhood store. And typically the people running those stores are you know, the owners in there, and the people care about the community. And I honestly think this whole issue right now is all about care. And really, all we're asking the people out there is to care enough about downtown to let us pay for it. I'm willing to pay for it. I'm willing to be taxed and pay for it. Just care enough about downtown to let us pay for it. That's all I'm asking, because I feel like if we don't have the funds, and if the funds are not directed into a vehicle that we have some control over, nothing will get done. And then we're going to have a bunch of strip malls, no character, no downtown. That doesn't necessarily mean that the Great Outdoors or Hawley's Florist won't be there. We will be there. We've been there for 20 years, but we won't be downtown. We'll be on Woodstock Avenue or somewhere else, and that would be a real shame, because we're fighting hard to maintain downtown, not maintain it, to build it up, to make it better, and to give it, you know, its charisma back.
Yeah, I've been on Center Street since 1977. I had grown up in this area, gone to school in this area, and then lived in other parts of the country for about 12 years. And when my son was small, we decided that it was important to come back to Vermont because that's where we wanted to live. So we opened a business in downtown Rutland. And I feel the same. I think the downtown of Rutland is the heart of the community. And I agree with Chuck that we all know each other down there. We like to work together. We're willing to put our heart and soul into what we do down there. And it's like that, tax me. I mean, I live in Pittsford. I'm not a resident of the city of Rutland, but I'm more than willing to pay my tax. I did belong in the beginning to the Downtown Development Corporation. I worked on that board, contributed my money, and then worked with the CDBA and contributed my money. But you cannot function as an identity when only a few people believe that strongly in what you do and contribute their money, but the rest of them just come along for the ride and didn't support it. So it was very important that we have something that everyone had to share.
So what you're saying, if I understand correctly, is that although there's a feeling of community downtown, this is really the first mandatory effort, that voluntary efforts haven't been that successful in the past?
Right. They basically didn't work for two reasons. One, that you couldn't have everyone involved, so you didn't have enough income stream to do the projects that needed to be done. And second of all, because it was done voluntarily, we not only had to give the money to get this done, we also had to give all our time. And if you're a business owner running a business, which we all are, we're in our businesses every day, that meant that then you not only worked 50, 60 hours a week, you then put in all the extra hours to try to make the rest of everything work. And we couldn't do it.
Fundraising is hard. Nobody likes to do it. I quite frankly would rather plan it, that I'm taxed, I believe in the tax, and I can plan for it, and I would much prefer it being taxed than going out myself and trying to raise this money. It takes a lot of time to raise money, and it probably wouldn't be as successful.
Chuck, you mentioned a little bit earlier, though, that people really have been focusing on the downtown. You hear a lot of talk in Rutland City especially about bringing back the downtown, about let's make the downtown the way it used to be. Downtown used to be a very vital center, a hub, if you will, of the city, and yet there was no downtown partnership, there was no special tax, and it functioned as a hub. Why can't the downtown function that way now?
Well, I think it can, and I think the momentum has been started to go in that direction. However, we've been in a national recession, number one, so it's been difficult just to run your own business in this last 2, 3, 4 year period. So it hasn't been the greatest time to start something that we've, a grassroots effort like this. But if we have the time and if we have the funds, I strongly believe, and I have a vested interest in this belief, that downtown will be very, very vibrant. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be downtown. Stuart,
you're begging to tell me why it is your organization isn't obsolete.
I can't not talk. Jeff and I are the same. Downtown was vibrant and dynamic when it had trains coming downtown, when it had a lot of factories and a lot of industry downtown, and I think more importantly, when a lot of the strip, South Main Street, Woodstock Avenue, and the like didn't exist. The mall over in the Aviation Mall in Saratoga didn't exist. Manchester didn't exist. People didn't go far afield. They came to their downtown. I don't know that we can ever make it so that you can't cross the streets for pedestrians in your way. It would be neat if we could. But I do know that if we don't have the organization to plan it and do it, i.e. the staff, the people on the ground working hard every day to do the things, Bonnie's absolutely correct. Go into her store, she's in there 10 hours a day, she's working on the books after that, and there isn't time in her day to go out and then hustle up something with the Department of Public Works, who works in a rather normal 8 to 5 operation. So it's critically important we have the mechanism to do it, and we'll get downtown back. Will we get it back to where it was? I don't know. But I think we're beginning to make some very, very important strides. There's an awful lot of this construction all ready to go. I mean, we're very close. Jeff can talk to how hard he has worked behind the scenes to get some of these new buildings ready to go. We're very close, and the partnership is going to be a vital link in drawing all of those enterprises together. And Chuck used the word advocacy. When something wants to get done, we can go to the Department of Public Works as a united voice, and it's very, very important and very powerful.
Well, that was the whole purpose of it, was to give the downtown merchants, the property owners, and the business interests down there an opportunity to speak with one voice, an opportunity to know how much money they were going to have next year so that they could budget for whatever it is that they felt was the most important priorities, whether it be promotions or amenities or special services, all the rest of that. That's what the program's about. And by the way, you know, there's no pride of authorship here, except that the plan itself came from the community in 1988 and 1989, but there are over 1,000 districts, just like this one in Rutland, that are operating all across this country. This is not a new idea. It's the first one of this particular nature in Vermont, the third one, I think, or second or third one in Vermont in total. But there are 1,000. There is over 1,000 of them across the country. I believe there's something like 25 of them in New York City alone, and another 20 planned. They in fact work, and they work because they solve the age-old problem of how do you convince, okay, I'll be the mayor now for a minute, okay? How do I convince as mayor someone who lives on Curtis Avenue, for example, that they ought to pay extra money in their taxes so that a business on Merchants Row can have a planter in front of it, or so that a business, so that all the businesses downtown can have an ethnic festival? How do I convince those people to pay in their taxes something that only benefits a very small group of the people in the community? And that problem, especially when we have very tight budgets and very hard times and people just don't have the money to spend in their taxes, becomes a bigger and bigger problem. The solution, which is working all across this country and has worked and will, after the voters approve of it, work again in downtown Rutland, is to ask those people in that district who get those services to pay that tax, and no one else, but to ask them all to pay it. Not just a select few who might voluntarily do so, not even a majority who might voluntarily do so, but all of them. And that's the key. That's what makes it work. You have the money, you have the resources, and you have the clout to make it happen. That's what the partnership's about. That's what the district is about. But the most important thing from my standpoint is we don't have to convince folks on Curtis Avenue or Upland Drive or anywhere else in the city to reach into their wallets and to pay their hard-earned dollars to support this effort, because they're not paying for it. The people, the general taxpayers of the city, have not bought banners. They have not bought benches. They have not bought promotions. They do not pay the salaries of the people at the redevelopment authority or the partnership. Those activities are supported by the downtowners themselves. You know, for years, and I think with a great deal of legitimacy in the past, we've heard a lot of people in this community and in the whole region complain, yeah, but downtown Rutland, the merchants, all they do is whine and they complain and they never want to do anything for themselves and they never work together, and you know, they want somebody else to pay for everything, and why should I have to? The general taxpayer, that's the response when you say we need to spend money on downtown, and they say let them spend it themselves. That's what this is about.
Precisely.
That's what those buttons say. Tax me. Not me. I don't own property in downtown Rutland, but these people own property and businesses there, and they're asking the general taxpayers of the city of Rutland to allow them to tax themselves for these benefits. And I will say one other thing, that if they don't approve, if the general voters in November don't approve this tax, then the cost is going to fall back to them. So if you vote yes, you vote to make downtown property owners and businesses pay their own way. If you vote no, you're accepting at least part of that bill yourself. It's important to know.
How much is I want to know specifically how the tax is assessed so people understand that. Bonnie, Chuck, how much have you paid this year, or before this has all been thrown up in the air? Is it a certain percentage of your property tax, of your assessment on your property now that you're paying?
What it is, it's a surcharge on the property tax. In my case, I don't own property. And so my landlord just took the square footage that I have in comparison to his building, and then I paid my proportionate share, which for me comes to around $700 a year, which is not a large amount of money. If I put that kind of money into advertising, it doesn't go very far, as you probably know. And it's, to me, very fair. The value for me was very, very good.
And you've seen it pay off, is what you're saying.
Very much so.
Chuck, proportionally for you then, it's based, you own that building?
I own that building, and I'm the tenant in that building, so I can't even try to give you an assessment of what it's worth. I know that if we do not have this vehicle to go forward, downtown's in trouble, and that means for the taxpayers also, the tax base of this community goes down, and we're paying a lot of taxes for the community, and once if downtown does go downhill, it's going to burden each and every taxpayer. So the vehicle was there. If we can get that vehicle back to go ahead and do these promotions and do what we listen to what the community wants. That ethnic festival, people wanted that. We listen to what people want, and we try to bring some exciting things into downtown, and we're going to try to bring more and more businesses, which will increase the tax base.
What about the overlap? What about, you got the Rutland Regional Chamber of Commerce, you got Tom Donahue in City Hall, you got all these people running around trying to promote downtown Rutland, and you've got half of Merchants Row gone. You got Sound Directions gone, Woolworths, no more parakeets for me to go watch, or the little fish, the balls. It's a mess. How do you encourage people to come into Rutland City? We're already in Rutland Town, they're paying less. I've been out of the Rutland Herald for a while now, and I don't read it as well as I should. So, what the proportion is and how they're saving there. Why should anybody come to downtown Rutland, get taxed extra, look at the blank shops? Look at what we've lost.
When you say get taxed extra?
Let me answer that.
Yeah,
I wanted to get you all going, so here you go. Go ahead, Stuart.
I resent the fact that downtown's a mess.
Well, so do I. I'd like to shop there.
Well, if you come down and shop more often and shop to the fullest extent
I'm
of your
broke, Stuart. I'm broke.
I'll have to see about a loan.
Jobs in Vermont, remember? Blame the legislature. There you go.
I had a call about 3 weeks ago from a merchant in Middlebury. He owns a store and his wife owns a store. And he called me and said, I've been hearing some interesting things about Rutland. Can I come and talk to you? He and his wife came down and spent a morning with myself and with Patty Garber, who's on our staff at the partnership. And we walked up one side of the street and down the other. And the two of them had not been in Rutland in 3 years. And they said several times, God, something's happening. It's improving. We feel good about what we see. Now, I was hustling. I'll acknowledge I was working hard to make a decent impression. I wanted them to come to Rutland. I want a banking customer out of it. They could not get themselves set up by September to get in time for the Christmas season, but they'll be here in April. Now that's outside, there's two stores. They will be together as one as they start off. Just a very independent validation of what we're doing. I got a list of probably a dozen or 15 new stores that have opened downtown. As you go through the economic...
And how long in time you're talking about?
12, 15 months.
In downtown Rutland?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Are these the ghost stores that I've heard so much about?
Yeah, that's right. They're all full of people trying to make a living.
Yeah.
Yes.
Paying taxes.
Woolworths has been empty. Yeah, it looks like the old Ned because it's sitting there.
You got Democratic and Republican headquarters now battling each other, and the only thing going on.
No, wait a minute. So we want to talk about Woolworths. Let's talk about the state
Well, that's
office
what
building.
I was trying to get to.
All right, well,
The partnership and the redevelopment authority and the city of Rutland.
will the state office building pay any taxes? It's state office building.
No,
right?
it isn't. It's going to be owned by Mr. Russell.
It is a leased
Private
property.
building.
It will pay property taxes, and on the first floor, nearly all of the square footage of the first floor is going to be retail space. It's not going to be office space on the first floor. It's going to
So
be
they'll pay
retail
property
space.
taxes.
Correct.
And they will
They
pay
will
property
pay.
taxes on properties now that pay, and for many, many years, long before I became mayor, have paid almost no property taxes relative to the potential in the buildings, because the upstairs, especially in the Hewlett building, has been vacant for decades. Now, that is millions of dollars of tax base, hundreds of jobs, and I don't know how many new shops, but thousands of square feet of space, of first floor retail space that's going to be put back into inventory with the cooperation and the support of the state of Vermont, private property owners in the city of Rutland, and the efforts of these downtown efforts. So, yes, it's vacant today, but we have a commitment on the part of the state of Vermont to make a multi-million-dollar investment, and a commitment on the part of the private ownership to make a multi-million-dollar investment in that property. We have a commitment from the owners of the shopping plaza and the new Price Chopper for a $12 million investment in that property in downtown Rutland that I can tell you, without the aggressive efforts and the future which is being put forward by the partnership and the redevelopment authority, I don't believe would have happened.
Well, I see-
Now,
my
wait a
question-
minute.
wait,
Let me
wait,
challenge.
wait, wait.
Let me
No,
finish.
okay.
I challenge you to find another community, let's say New England, okay, of remotely the size of the city of Rutland, that since the beginning of this recession, the worst recession since World War II, can claim that kind of a commitment or private and public investment in their downtown in the last 2 years. You won't find it. That wouldn't have happened. Those buildings would not be under construction this spring if it hadn't been for the efforts that we put in for the last several years. We can't allow this train to get off track. We've got to stay on the right track.
Well, there's a couple of comments. One, Rutland's a pretty desperate town, and it does not look good. And the fact that people would tax themselves in this recession is remarkable. I think
Prove
people,
that the program's working.
I think, I hear from, living outside of Rutland City, to me, the regional cooperation is desperately needed. I mean, you need that. There are people, for years as a former City Hall reporter, half of City Hall shops at the Aviation Mall. And I think that's insulting to the community and to downtown merchants who try so hard. I refuse to pay 7% tax, let alone 5%. My car won't make it to New Hampshire, so I'm not there. So I just wear the same clothes. But what we're seeing, I think, is I don't understand why a taxpayer would vote against this, but I'm wondering in the end, do you want to dissolve this? I mean, if you're following this blueprint, I don't see where they will stop the fighting any more than ever. The talk about, already we've got a schism, already someone's asking
Wait.
for time tomorrow night. How does this board generally follow the master plan that you mentioned, Mayor?
Okay.
What's left to be done? You've got kiosks, you've got this, you're looking better. What else do you want with this money?
We have barely begun.
So what do you want?
Barely begun. Well, let me just deal with the issue of the schism in the infighting, and then I'll let them talk about the work program for the future. I would point out, again, worst recession since World War II. We're talking about downtown Rutland here, okay? This isn't known for being the most visionary group of merchants in the history of retailing, okay?
You said it, now you.
Okay, no, I'm telling you, I'm stating what the public perception is.
They're gone now.
But are you
Okay.
talking 20 years ago, too? I mean, you got to understand, we're taking the burden of 25 or 30 years of
Neglect.
of merchant history.
Right.
I mean, I came to the town 7 years ago and opened up a store. Already, I've shouldered the burden of Rutland's downtown demise. If I would have opened on Woodstock Avenue, I wouldn't have had to accept this burden. I'm accepting this burden because, number one, I believe in downtown. I want it to work. But I believe that most of the businesses downtown, is Sabby's, who's been open 6 months, is he the problem of the demise of downtown? No.
But don't you
Let me
think
finish.
it's
Let me
funny?
finish.
He's creating the momentum to build it back up
Let me
again.
finish my argument. The point is this. That is the perception, but look at the reality. We have got merchants and property owners and clerks wearing tax me buttons in downtown Rutland. I mean, you talk about, this is outrageous. The concept that a majority of the downtown people who will be paying this tax in some of the worst business times that they've seen in decades are asking the people of this community for the authority to tax themselves in order to keep this program going. If that isn't a visionary, far-sighted commitment to themselves and to the future of that district, I can't give you an argument. There isn't another one. Yes, we have people who will oppose it. You're talking, how many properties are involved in this? Roughly 160 something?
180.
180 or so. Out of 180 people, it would be unbelievable if there weren't some who said, no, I don't believe I should have to pay for any of this. I want the people on Curtis Avenue and Upland Drive to pay for my promotions and my banners and my benches and my planters. And I refuse to pay for it, and I'm going to go to court to try to force them to pay for it. That's what this is all about. And so far, they've succeeded. But they won't succeed if the people of this city say, we think you should pay for your own banners and promotions and benches and planters. And if they do that in November, then we're back on track.
Well, how far does this concept go? What if you get River Street and the next time the bridge needs to be repaired, someone says, no, the people on River Street should pay for that bridge? I mean, where does this local downtown central control, I know you're a very big advocate of local control and local option taxes.
Which it is.
How far do you go with this idea? I mean, it's frightening to me in a statewide sort of conceptual way. I don't know how Burlington does it. I don't know how Bernie set it up in Burlington. I know there's a special assessment district of some kind, I understand. And it is a model for the state. Everybody goes to Burlington and says, my God, this is lovely. The place is always teeming. It's not just UVM kids, and you cannot find a parking spot. Okay? And that's what you want in Rutland, I believe, on a smaller scale.
Burlington is losing pennies to a mall, and they're losing other stores in Burlington. Like Rutland, Burlington is not immune from a national recession. You asked a question a minute ago, and then we've got to give it back to Michael, because we've got to share this. You asked a question, the second half of your question was, what else is on the program? What needs to be done? How much longer do we have to be doing this? And I'd like to ask him to answer that.
Let me try to answer that one. How much longer? Forever?
Long time, Stuart.
It can't stop now. If we stop and go back to the old volunteer ways, it stops dead. When we started this, we took the benefit of a group of 5 St. Michael's College Business School students who talked about parking as a necessity, talked about store hours as a necessity, talked about cleanliness and maintenance as a necessity, talked about the availability of public restrooms as a necessity. There was a 5th item which escapes me at the minute. That is really our blueprint, Megan. We've only just started. We'll put all our trees out in 2 or 3 or 4 years. There's 100 trees that we have on our little tree map for the whole district to add that to the city. We'll have all of our flower pots out in a little while. We'll have all of our banners up, seasonal banners. We'll have a lot of that kind of what I'll call cosmetic stuff done in a couple of years. And if you had a $500,000 budget, you'd get it done in 1 year. But what will have to go on forever and ever is the maintenance, promotion, marketing. We have begun to bring tourists off the mountain to downtown Rutland. We think they come down to get as far as Woodstock Avenue. We got to get them all the way down the hill.
I've always been told they come to do their laundry, and that's it, because there's no decent
well, we need a laundromat
right,
downtown.
So keep the water shut off, Mayor.
Maybe what you need is a laundromat downtown, Megan. That's really our plan. Our program is promotion and it's marketing. It's events management. Make things happen downtown. Make happy things go on downtown. Make fun things go on downtown. We didn't create the Ethnic Festival, but we were a very important part of it. We didn't create First Night, but all of that, we're part of that. We didn't create the bike race, but we are.
Certainly messed up my getting to work, I'll tell you that. How's the Paramount tie into this?
Can I ask? Can you say that question for the next one?
Go away. Thanks. I'd like to find out from you on the State Street, for example, one of the merchants who brought this in the first place. Yeah. He feels that he's not part of downtown at all, and when we talk about the Ethnic Festival or the bike race, that happens sort of in the downtown area. Should he have been State Street been eliminated, or where does State Street tie in to the downtown plan?
It's I don't know. State Street is a part of the district now, and therefore they are taxed and pay their taxes like everybody else. The description of the district is not an exact science. When we put the district together, we had a long road that went out to all the way down Merchants Road to South Main Street, and we went up all the way up through the park on Main Street. This was a draft, and we had it going down to pick up the CV headquarters building, and that was great because it was theoretically a lot of revenue, but it was an unmanageable district. It was just too big for us to bite off, so we shrunk it back to what seemed like geographically the center of the city. The River Street bridge to State Street. Now, as I say, it's an imprecise science at best. In the science, it's a guess. We did the very best we could do at the time. Should they be in or should they be out? That is for the Board of Aldermen to consider in sometime before the 1993-4 budget is presented. So that question will be answered. I really wish that they would participate and be part of us. I mean, we have a greater whole, and if we're all working together, we'll get a whole lot more done. I don't know how that'll all come out. I do know that we really felt that we wanted State Street in. We really felt that we wanted to work with them. A couple of them don't want to, and we'll have to see how that works as we go forward.
I can comment just from it's really supply and demand, and if downtown becomes vibrant, and if we fill up stores, and if basically what's going to happen is property levels are going to go up, property values are going to go up, there's going to be less space available, and State Street, which to me is in the downtown district and should benefit from both property values going up if that happens, or occupancy rating going up if that happens. I mean, it's short-sighted not to really jump on this bandwagon, because in the end, there's two ways it's going to go. It's either going to fail, and we're all going to fail, or it's going to win, and we're all going to win. Again, I get back to if the public just cares enough to let us foot the bill and give us a shot to make downtown Rutland work. I think that's all it is. We're willing to foot the bill. We want to give this a chance. We need the entire district to make it work.
And just maybe one more comment. When the new road was done on State Street, and because State Street has always been a commercial part of the downtown, it's not residential housing on that one block. That is commercial. And now there's a lot of development up there with the new road and with the new office buildings, and I think you'll see those stores start to fill up. And it would certainly be unfair for someone to be sitting up there saying, I want to be part of this district, I want to be a viable business. Now I can't be. I mean, that was very obviously had to be part of the district.
Mike, you have a follow-up?
Yeah.
Well, we'll make one up.
Actually, I have a question, and Chuck, you've mentioned several times if people care enough to let us foot the bill. I think the concern is, yeah, you're paying, your surcharge on your property taxes. How much of that is passed through to me when I come into your store to buy something?
Nothing. That's a ludicrous statement, because we have to be competitive with everybody else out there. And I'll tell you one other thing. I mean, that concept is so far off the wall to take a $700 or $800 fee when what we're getting from it, is hopefully more traffic and all that. Believe me, there's not 1/millionth tenth of 1% passed on to anybody, because we have to be competitive with other towns. We have to be competitive with catalogs. We have to be competitive. The market drives the price, okay? And right now it's a consumer's ballgame anyways. We're all very competitive. To answer your question, you aren't paying for anything. Believe me, we are paying for it all. And I can tell you right now, nobody's prices will go up. It just doesn't happen.
Let me tell you from the mayor's perspective, city taxpayers aren't the only ones who shop in downtown Rutland. People from New York shop there. People from all around, Pittsford, Ira, people from Rutland Town. If there is in fact that the revenues to pay for this tax are coming from some kind of a hidden sales tax, which I think we've just heard refuted, but even if that were true, those revenues are paid by everybody who shops down here. The alternative to that if we don't ask the downtown property owners and merchants to pay this bill themselves, that means that it goes only onto the Rutland City taxpayers. So the choice is either everybody pays it, whether it be the business or the patrons of that business, or that we pay it as the taxpayers of the city. Those are the two choices. It's either you pay if you vote no, you pay if you vote yes, downtown pays. It's that simple.
Vote yes on Articles 3 and 4.
Well, Stuart, why can't the partnership survive without the RA and without, the whole on the right track the whole partnership came about on a volunteer basis,
Yeah,
on a bunch of
yeah,
people who got together and said, hey, we'll chip in this money, and you get a grant here and a grant there. Why not run the RRA or run the partnership that way and forget about the RRA?
That works pretty well, Kris, on a kind of a short-term basis to get a big lump of work done. But what we're into now is the very kind of methodical, mundane stuff. Creating ads for the papers, creating radio spots, creating, it just takes time. And as I said earlier, Chuck and Bonnie and myself and others who have labored hard and volunteered for this, they simply haven't got time to do it. They're running their own businesses.
And look at the history. Bonnie was involved in the previous efforts back to the Downtown Development Corporation, which I was involved with long before I was a city official. And every single one of those has failed, and it's failed for the same reason.
The two volunteer efforts that got off to a good start, and everybody said, boy, it's time to do it, and people put in some money, it stops. Because it doesn't have the momentum. I think one of the really gratifying things that's happened to all this, the day the Supreme Court of the state of Vermont said this has been tipped over, we were all pretty sad. But the phone rang at the partnership office, I'll bet hundreds of times, people saying they're sorry that it happened, how can I help? What do you need me to do to get the thing righted again? And we've had 2 years of live experience. We've been at this just 2 years. We can't overcome several decades of neglect and slide. But damn it, we're just on the cusp of having it happen and being very successful and filling up some of those stores. And I got a list of the names of people who've opened stores. During the economic cycle, rents come down, so people say, I can afford that now. I've talked to building owners in downtown Rutland, and I said, look, if I bring you a tenant, will you negotiate your kind of ridiculous rental price? And uniformly they say, bring me a tenant, I'll do anything I can to fill a building. That's what the economic cycle permits to happen, a redistribution, if you will. We're at that low point, we're going to get some stores filled, and it's going to get better. This cannot work on a volunteer basis. I haven't got any more energy. I know that our board of 11 volunteers, who we meet once a week, we have met bi-monthly for, 4 years. We need our paid staff, we need our permanent, hard-working people to get out and do the stuff. I mean, it just doesn't happen without the funding and without the direct resources. And it's you can prove it time and time again. It works for a while.
What about the volunteer effort that's going on now, the Save Our Downtown campaign? Has that been, are you getting money from businesses?
I won't tell you how much, but it's been very, very, very responsive. Very satisfying.
How about the percentage of businesses? Or?
Our campaign is, the letters are going out and they're coming in. I haven't figured a number out, Mike, a percentage, but some people have been very supportive of us, and frankly, some people I didn't think would. And and those are the ones who've contributed small sums, but have said this is important to us, and that is probably as satisfying as anything we've done.
And where's that money going to specifically?
Going into a separate bank account, and it is not commingled with the partnership money and all of the city tax monies. We've been. It'll stand the test of an audit if anybody wanted to do that.
Yeah, but it's going for what type of?
Well, it's going for buttons. It's going for posters. It's going for anything we need to get the vote out and to tell the story and to convince people to vote yes on Articles 3 and 4.
If we lose that, we not only lose our voice, we lose the train that drives the whole thing. And that's what I'm worried about. I mean, the partnership took our ideas and they really ran with them. And they got things done. And I've been involved with another community in Vermont that worked on a volunteer basis, and it just doesn't get done. It's too hard, just like Bonnie and Stuart said. I mean, we're working 10, 12 hours a day, and to expect people to do volunteer work on top of that, it's too much. It can't get done. And your priority, I mean, when you're in a small business, your priority is your business, and your priority is your customers. And that's what you're going to do first.
I can remember asking Bonnie to serve on our board, and I've never forgotten what she said. She said, I won't serve on your board if you've got a short-term project where I can help, I'd be happy to do it. And that's, I guess, the answer to the volunteer thing. We got through the planning process because it was short-term. We had a lot of momentum, a lot of enthusiasm, got a lot of money, did our thing, and it stops. Now we've got to restart our engine.
Let's see, we can put the time in to create the ideas and the initiative, but we need somebody to implement those ideas. And we're doing that, and they will continue if we get back on course. They will continue to do it, and that's the thing. We're willing to pay for that because we know it's necessary. And just to address the whole issue of, are these funds going to be on and on and ongoing, and are these funds going to come out of somebody else's pocket? When we all merge together, we can do things like negotiate better prices on things for ourselves. I really believe that this ends up to be almost a wash, the tax, because we're working together, not as just a sole entity. All of a sudden, when we need Christmas lights and things like that, we're working together for these things, and it really works in our benefit.
I might add.
I've got one more question, excuse me.
Go ahead.
If people vote no on this, it's city taxpayers who have to pay the money back. Why?
Well, that's not absolutely determined. It's highly likely, but it's not determined until the court comes down with another ruling.
300,000 is about
$360,000 has been raised from the downtown property owners to pay for the things that people have seen, the banners and the promotions and so forth. The average taxpayer has not paid for those. The downtown taxpayers have. If people vote no on that question, if the voters vote no on that, and the court rules that that money has to be repaid to the downtown taxpayers, that would be done through a mechanism that is under general laws of the state of Vermont and the city charter, which is a special tax bill would be sent to all the taxpayers of the city, charging them their share of that $360,000, and they would have to pay that bill within 60 days or they would be delinquent. That's over and above all the taxes they've been assessed in the current year already. It would be a special bill on top of all the other taxes people owe. So when we say, vote no, you pay, we mean it, because that's what the law and what the courts are likely to make happen, and make happen very quickly. But even if that weren't to happen, and for some reason it wasn't required that the $360,000 had to be paid back, there's still the need to fix downtown Rutland and to make those investments. But what we've lost at that point, if voters vote no on Articles 3 and 4, is we've lost the opportunity to make downtown pay for their own improvements. And the only way we can pay for those improvements, if we vote no, is to pay for it out of our own pockets. And that's why I think it's very important that the voters understand that no means you pay.
Specifically, what are the improvements coming if this is approved in 1993-94? Public restrooms, that was one thing mentioned. Is that going to happen somewhere?
Well, public restrooms will happen, but I suspect it will happen, tell me if I'm wrong, Jeff, I suspect it'll happen in the multimodal transportation center.
That would be part of the design, which is not that far down the road, but you're looking at 1994.
Trees next year, Stuart.
There's more trees.
What kind of trees are these little trees?
They're good-sized trees. They're a small leaf maple.
I'm looking for elm trees. Whatever happened down there?
They died.
Ones from New Hampshire, though. They've got some good ones.
I can't get you any elm trees. They're all dead.
Too bad.
They're all made into furniture. I don't get hung up on banners and benches because those are the cosmetic things that are very easy to see. But the hard part, the part that
You're going to more special events, more ethnic festivals,
absolutely.
fun stuff
there
for
will
Rutland
be
finally?
that. But
Yes,
there's
very much so.
advertising, there's marketing. What does it take to get somebody to come off the mountain? How do we reach out to Castleton, to the Lakes Country? We haven't done any of that yet. And drawing those people into downtown is something that's going to take time. That just doesn't happen overnight. You plant a tree or you put a bench up. That's a snap. And I don't want people to get so they're thinking only banners and benches. This is a
My final thing, back to the
long-term
Paramount. How's the
program.
Paramount tie in with this at all?
Bonnie's the right person to ask.
The Paramount is part of the blueprint plan on the right track. that he was referring to. And at this point in time, we've been working with the Rutland Redevelopment Authority, and we have to, I mean, we obviously have things that are much more important. The plaza has to be finished first. The I cannot say that,
Multimodal
transportation center
Practice that.
would be next.
Bus garage.
And then after that, we are going to start our project.
Well, I'm
So-
going to the Flynn Theater next Saturday to see the opera, and, you know, I'd like to
Right.
stay in Rutland and do
Right.
that.
We'd
Well,
like to have you
and
do it.
this-
Give us a chance to
Right.
make Rutland exciting. I mean, you can't snap your fingers. 20 years ago, Burlington was not like it is
No,
today.
right.
Give us a chance to get these things going. That's what we need. I mean, we're looking at the same vision you're looking at, and hopefully that the city residents are looking at. We want to make this thing
Listen, if
work at a
Montpelier
quality.
could survive the flood, we should be able to do this.
Well, this is a, you know, there's sometimes there seems to be this negative feeling about Rutland's downtown. I mean, compare it to the rest of the downtowns in Vermont. Rutland is I think is a good downtown. I'm comparing it to a very small town in northern Vermont, and I think it's vibrant. You know, I mean, it's got a long ways to go, but we're getting there. And just give us the chance to finish it.
We're almost out of time, but I think we have time for one more question. Mike?
This may be a good way to close it out. If it was approved, how soon would the partnership be up?
The voting is whatever November 3rd is. The partnership would be at work on November 4.
Everything's
Probably
in
that
place?
night. No, it isn't in place. We've not been able to spend any money. We've had to let Patty go. We've had to just basically shut down. We can't make commitments. We had to withdraw commitments on planters and trees and the grates and the tree guards. We've withdrawn all that. We've stopped everything. So we do have a plan to get Christmas going, which will be our first, probably our only priority, Mike, that we'll be able to complete from November 4th on. I mean, we've got to have a real crash to get Christmas going. I suspect the other stuff that we might have done will die for the moment. But I think we can get, in the first couple, 3 weeks, most of our Christmas program up and running. It'll take a lot of work, but I think we can get it done. But next day, we're ready. We just need the city voters to vote yes on Articles 3 and 4. Give us a chance.
You have more
We
time.
do have
Yeah.
more time.
I've got one more question. If people voted no, would you two actually demand that you got your money back, or would it just be the State Street people? I mean, I can see that there would just, some people would say, yes, I want my money back, I took this to the Vermont Supreme Court, I want my money back. But there's another 300,000 that you folks would say, we're gonna keep this going, and we'll bring it up again in March, and no.
That money's been expended, Megan. You can't just get it out of the till. It's not sitting there.
Right, it's gone, so why then?
Yeah, the city would have to pay it all back.
Somebody
or
would have
back.
to
You can't
reimburse
bring it
them.
back and say,
Well,
here,
you
you
pay
have a
it, okay.
little and you have none.
I know,
This
but you
is-
pay it
There's
back
no
and then you give
vehicle.
it back
What
again.
you're saying is, no, the vehicle has been torn down.
Right.
Right.
Dick Courcelle will not have a job. So if
Right.
you're saying to me, if you're going to give me the check back for my refund, am I going to take it and throw it out in the street? No, I'm going to take it back because I don't have the vehicle to work for me again. If the vehicle's in place, I'm willing to give that money. If the vehicle's not in place, why should I
Buy
put
a
the
new
money
car,
in?
it's 93, you know, I mean, just buy a new vehicle.
Not at $700.
No, but I'm saying, if you must know within your group now, who, not in city residents perhaps, but within the downtown merchant groups, I think you said 160 properties or something, you know who's gonna vote no, and you know who's gonna vote yes, you know who's fighting this, okay? So what I'm saying is, even if for some reason you lost, for some unknown reason that I cannot imagine, you wanna be taxed, you wanna tax yourselves, but somebody on Curtis Avenue says, no, I don't want you to tax yourselves, I
Well,
don't want improvements.
They
in
haven't
that."
read this. If that's the only
Right.
reason
How are
I
you distributing this anyway? Are you going,
We're
you don't have the money to promote
being on
yourselves
Adelphia
now?
Well, that's why we've gone out and raised separate funds for doing this. We're on cable, obviously, we've got radio spots coming up, we're on the talk shows, we're at all the service clubs. We've got a very extensive campaign that takes a little money to do it, and we're
But
going
would
to
you
do our best.
literally take the money back? Wouldn't you
Sure.
try to form a new vehicle?
Well, I think what would have to happen is we would have to find a way to redo this all over again. The thing
Right.
that bothers me as a person downtown is the fact that this was overwhelmingly approved by the downtown district.
Yeah.
It would be the same as if our whole country ran on minority rule. We run a majority rule. We voted as a majority to do this. Therefore, the ones who don't agree either have to spend their time and convince all of us to do it away with it, or we go with it. That's the way this country works. This is probably the thing that has irritated me the most about this whole issue, is that we truly believed in what we were doing. And we're doing it for the benefit of downtown. We're doing it for the benefit, obviously, of our stores. And we need something to make Rutland really viable again. It's something that's real important to everybody that's there.
Again, you were talking about majority rule, though. Aren't those people that don't agree with this being taxed without representation? That's something.
Well, they have representation.
Sure, they're represented.
They have a vote. They cast a vote in a 2-to-1 election that was passed 2-to-1 in downtown Rutland among all the people who had to pay this tax. There was a vote on it, and they voted against it, and they lost. By 2-to-1, they lost. And now what they've done is they've gone to the courts to try to get the courts to enforce something that they can't get a majority of their neighbors and their other fellow voters, if you will, on this issue, to approve. And the question is this small group of people who have severe disagreements with this whole thing and who are unwilling to accept the majority rule of decisions of their peers, are they going to determine what happens in the future of downtown Rutland? Are they going to shove this cost onto the general taxpayers of the city of Rutland as a minority? Or are the people of the city of Rutland going to say, no, we believe downtown's on the right track, we believe that downtown ought to pay for downtown, and you're part of downtown, so you pay, like it or not. And that's the question. That is the question. But they had a vote, just like I have a vote, just like you have a vote. We have a vote when it comes time to decide whether we're taxed or for what purposes. Is it a bond issue or a special? We have a vote. Some people vote in the affirmative, some people vote in the negative. But the people who vote in the negative generally don't go and try to disassemble the entire government when it doesn't go their way, which is essentially what's happening.
And I really think that the tax situation is important because we have certain financial commitments. We have staff in place. Now, someone asked a question before, couldn't you just raise this money? Would you want your job to be based on, if you were running this organization, would you want your job to be based on how much money we raise the next year? No. You can't staff people that way. You can't run an organization that way. This is the only way we can run this organization. We have quality people doing this. We hired quality people. We can make these people work for us and work for downtown because we have the vehicle and we have the funds to do it time after time, year after year. That was our point. If we have to go out and try to raise this money, we'll never get those type of people or this organization.
Are you taking any sort of poll, or are you lobbying your customers in any sort of way? Can you...
I have a rule in my store. I don't get involved in any political issues in my store.
Even something...
I don't want to put anybody in that position and make them feel at all uncomfortable. And I did that a long time ago. So in my store, in my case, I'm not saying a thing other than wearing a button.
Oh, okay.
But I will not say anything to them. I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable.
Okay, we have less than a minute. Any closing remarks, closing statements?
Just briefly, downtown Rutland is important to the entire region. It isn't just us that are going to benefit. I think the whole region benefits. I think people in Mendon don't have to drive to Saratoga. I think the people on the mountain get benefit from it. I think this is the core. It's the heart of the county, and we really very much and very earnestly ask that the voters support us in this.
Okay. Vote yes on Articles 3 and 4. Make downtown pay for downtown. That's the message tonight. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank you for your interest in this, and most of all, I want to thank you for voting on November 3rd. Thanks again. We'll see you next time on City Issues.
Ride along at your own pace. Woo! Come trekking in the Vermont Lung Association's Countryside Classic in scenic Rutland County, Vermont, September 11th through the 13th. Call for more information.
Come on trekking!
Bill, I'm worried.
Why, honey? Those hunters haven't been around here in months.
No, I'm worried about your cholesterol level. I don't want you to have a heart attack.
But, honey, I'm a doc.
Heredity is only part of it. You've also got to watch what you eat, like not stuffing yourself with foods high in saturated fats and cholesterol.
Next thing, you'll want me to give up my poker night.
Watch what you eat as if your life depended on it. It does.
If you won't do it for yourself, do it for the kids.
As a rule, the key to being a great comic is to take yourself absolutely seriously. That's why cats are born clowns. A cat can do outrageously funny things, but to himself, he's king of the jungle. But you know, because cat owners maybe 10 years ago allowed their pets to breed, thousands and thousands of these funny little guys have to be destroyed every single day. Let's get serious and have our cats spayed and neutered and end the tragedy of pet overpopulation. There's nothing funny about that.